Well, we might as well start early, I guess. I am prepping to have this discussion, but I'm doing it via Zoom. As you can see my cool background. Well, we might as well start early, I guess. And I guess I should mute myself too. I am. But my goal is to have people come up and have a discussion. So I'm prepping early because I didn't have time to get OBS set up. That'll be a thing for next time. Actually, I need to get some earbuds in. Hey, Brad. We got Little Garden Big Dreams. We got Quartz, of course. Making lemonade from lemons. We are just getting a couple things prepped. Since I can't see comments in Zoom, I am putting it up on my TV so I can at least glance over there and see comments. But like I said, I didn't have time to get OBS set up, so I don't entirely know what I'm doing. At least glance over there and see comments. Okay, nice. Let's turn the TV volume down too. It's just everything's all messed up. Let's try. There we go. Perfect. So we'll get started a little early. I don't know if I want to keep this background on. It cuts me off a lot. You're cleaning back to work? Yeah, I was going to ask about that, actually. You have SEO in your logo. It's like the 10th time I've seen that term today. Pretty sure it's a sign. I mean, it is important. It is pretty much the basis of everything that is Google. But I'm going to provide a link for anybody that would like to hop up. Don't feel like you have to. This is for those that are interested in talking about this topic. Feel free to come in and hang out. And yeah. Okay, so we're up on my TV. So good evening, everybody. I'm glad that some folks are stopping by. I know there's a lot of lives going on right now. So I actually spawned the topic for this discussion off of what we were talking about last week. And Donald and I have been doing some like thought processes and planning for the coming months and what may happen or what may not happen. I mean, theoretically, hopefully nothing happens that we go back down in lockdown. But if we do, I think it's a good idea for, I mean, homesteaders are pretty much good at prepping in general. Donald and I mean, we're not massive preppers. We would like to work to get to that point. But can you guys hear me okay? Since I have the earbuds in, I wasn't sure. What's up, Papa Z? I didn't have time to fix my makeup, so this is my all day long eyeliner and no lipstick. So but feel free to click on that link and join if you want to have some discussion about this. I didn't even get time to post around on social media. I guess I should do that. Let me see if I can real quick. It's going to be weird doing it while live. Audio is fine? Perfect. So I guess I need to share my screen at some point, but I'll wait until we get a couple more people in since I started a little early. Howie's in. Hey, Howie. I probably won't be playing music today, though, if we're going to have this kind of big old discussion. I feel like I haven't stopped by a lot of people's channels lately. I was realizing, I'm like, I don't know that I've seen Howie in a while, but I think it's my fault. I haven't been to anybody's channel in a while. Sean, I'm always happy when you're in here. You just, I don't know, you bring a certain joyful vibe. So I always appreciate you when you're in here. All right, so I've posted it in the small YouTubers group. I might do it on my personal wall real quick. Mama Z's in the house. What's your count out now, Mama Z? You were at like 950 last I saw. I will also post the link again for anybody that wants to come up on the discussion. And it may be that nobody does, but we're going to talk about some stuff anyway. So I'm going to post the link one more time. I got so many screens open, I don't even know where I'm at. Oh, there I am. There's the Zoom link. So part of the discussion we had last week was basically, are we going to get another wave of shortages and panic buying? Because you know how humanity is in general. And what I wanted to do was, we had a lot of really good ideas on stuff to theoretically prepare for. In fact, I posted on social media asking everybody that was on my friends list, which granted is only like 1,700 people, but what they had trouble finding in the store once people started going a little ballistic and panic buying. Now, I had my own list of things that I had trouble finding. Other people had very similar stuff that they had a hard time finding, but for the most part, it was all the same stuff. So actually, I'll ask you guys here while you're in the chat too, did you guys have any trouble finding supplies like in March and April when things were going a little crazy? I think the biggest thing for me, it wasn't bread. Although there were times I tried to get bread and they were out. Yeah. And I've been worried about that famine thing. Yeah, TP, I still notice shortages, but it does seem like you can get it. We have still not gone through the stores I bought the beginning of March before people started panic buying, because I kind of knew. So I went ahead and bought like 2 or 3 packs then. And then people started panic buying, and I'm like, well, I'll get it if I can find it. But and we still shop every 2 weeks. We started going back into the store to shop, but I think I decided once I started seeing all the craziness happening again that I'm going to start doing the, not necessarily delivery, but pickup, I guess. Rice is still hard to find. Yeah. Let me make sure nobody's trying to come in. Oh, we got Misty in here. We're going to bring up Mama Z for some discussion. And again, anybody's welcome to come up. I mean, I know all of you guys, so. Little Garden Big Dream says, we have areas, suburbs in Melbourne that are in lockdown. People were panic buying again last week. TP pasta and limits on cans and things. Hey, Misty.
Hey.
How are you doing?
Good. Thought I would pop on in just a minute, since Texas has changed a lot today, and share what's going on here in the Lone Star State.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys went on mask lockdown. I think we went on mask lockdown yesterday.
Yeah. So in Texas, they had implemented statewide use of masks today. We've kind of been on a county by county. Harris County, which is Houston, is just south of me, had been on mandatory mask for a little while now. Montgomery County, where I'm at, hadn't been, but Governor Abbott today came out and said everybody now in the state of Texas mandatory mask. Also, he had banned gatherings larger than 10, or outside gatherings larger than 10. So we still don't know completely the details of that. I kind of got home kind of at the end of the news cycle, so I still don't know the complete details of everything of that. But Keith and I had went to the store before I even knew anything had happened. The grocery stores, there's big signs, masks. You have to wear masks coming in, which I always do anyway, going in the grocery store. So it wasn't a big deal. We'd already had masks on when we got there, but the shelves were empty again, like they were when this all started. And it was really kind of, I was like, what in the world is going on? Because I hadn't seen the news, so I didn't even know anything had happened.
Yeah.
But toilet paper was gone, the shelves were starting to, and people were mass buying again.
Yeah.
So
It looks like Broussard says that Amy started using a family cloth for number one, which actually Donald and I have been considering doing as well, simply because he's got like some old shirts that he wants to get rid of, and I'm thinking of just tearing them up. But yeah, I think toilet paper is going to be a big one.
yeah, there was not toilet paper or paper towels to be found.
Yeah.
The shelves
Now,
were empty.
we actually stopped using paper towels because we try to do we're trying to slowly develop into a zero waste home as much as possible. So we cut out paper towels probably about 10 or 15 years ago and haven't missed them. But Sean in Alaska says that, and his is good advice, when you walk into the stores, whatever they're still out of, like baking ingredients and stuff, will probably be long term. So yeah, I definitely think we're in for another round of this, unfortunately.
Well, back when this happened, first went in, I had stocked up on yeast. I've got enough yeast to probably last me a year anytime, because anytime they would come back into stock of yeast, I would buy it, just as much as I could get my hands on
Yeah.
and bring it home. So I've got so much yeast in my freezer. It's ridiculous. So, and bread, that was another thing. They couldn't set it out fast enough. People were just panic buying. And I didn't have a clue to what was even going on until we got home, and my neighbor's outside. She's like, why don't you have a mask on? Because we leave them in the car. Just have some disposables that we wear into the store or whatever. And I'd taken it off because it's hot,
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's like, why don't you have your mask on? I'm like, I take them off in the car.
Right.
And she's like, no, you've got to have it on. You've got to have it on.
So I actually created a list based off of the discussion we were having, not only last week, but also on Facebook, what people were talking about. And these were just kind of the casual prepping items that people were talking about they were short of: toilet paper, hand sanitizer, sanitizing wipes. I had an issue finding Bisquick. I don't use Bisquick, but my dad uses it a lot. So I actually found a way to make Bisquick at home. Problem is, it requires shortening if you want shelf stable Bisquick, or you can use butter if you refrigerate it. And I wanted the shelf one.
Did you make that with ghee?
You probably could. Yeah. I don't see why not, to be honest. I mean, it's just there for the flavor and the baking of it. And if you can bake with ghee, then I assume
Yeah,
that
I'm
you
just
could.
wondering because I make ghee, so.
Broussard said he would join, but his coworkers playing Call of Duty next to him with the filthy mouth. You guys, I probably have the filthiest mouth ever when playing video games, by the way. You should ask my husband. Yeast, yeah, making lemonade from lemon says that you can order yeast directly from places like King Arthur. That might be a good option. So maybe that's like a thing we can compile as homesteaders. This is what we were short on this year. Here's alternative ways to buy it. Amy Amy from A Farmer's Kind of Life also had the suggestion. I hadn't thought of it, but she said that she was able to buy flour directly from a flour mill locally. And I want to say you get it in like 50-pound bags. And I never thought to go to a flour mill, but I know we have one here in Pennsylvania, not too far away. And then I saw on the news the other day, they were talking about in England, there was this old flour mill, like medieval times. This flour mill was in working order, and it was still like they could still make flour with it, but they just hadn't done it to that degree. So they actually restarted everything up, and they were making flour directly in this old medieval mill to give to local bakeries and stuff. And I thought that was really cool. I'm sorry, I was reading the comments. Canned and frozen food. I was actually surprised, I guess not surprised about the canned goods, but I figured, well, I guess it's not really that surprising. I never thought of it because I don't eat a lot of canned goods. So that wasn't a big one for me. Frozen foods, I mean, I guess that makes sense if people are stocking up on canned goods.
Well, you know, I have noticed when I went to the store, there's a lot more frozen stuff than there is canned goods. And I know I've done a couple of videos of how to take like the frozen vegetables and can them yourself to make them shelf stable and make room in your freezer. Because like me, I just have my side-by-side freezer in this apartment. So that is definitely an option of being able to do that.
Right. That makes sense. Rubbing alcohol, I don't have a way of making that. I didn't buy any because I don't use it that often, but now I'm reconsidering it because medically it sounds like it makes sense.
Right.
Bread, obviously everybody was talking about. Lysol, I was able to score one bottle of it from like a relative that had some, but I have not seen that in the store at all since like March. Baking powder, someone said they had problems finding baking powder. Shayla mentioned rice, and then we had the issues with meat, I guess.
Yeah, and meat is expensive, even here in Texas. And it's usually a lot cheaper here in Texas than it is.
Someone's joining called Super Badass Camera Phone, so we'll see who that is, I guess. What's up, Super Badass Camera Phone? Oh, they're connecting to audio. And then we have Mickey from Becoming Texan coming in. Texian, I guess is how you say it. You might have to connect your audio though. It looks like you guys are connecting. So just to finish out the list, meat and borax. I actually had a hard time finding borax myself. I don't know if anybody else had an issue, but I was trying to find some on Amazon. They had like, you could get like a 10-pound or 5-pound box or something, but they were charging like $30 for it. I'm like, no.
Yeah, I haven't been able to find borax here.
Like you could get like a 10-pound. Oh, I hear myself talking. They were charging like $30 for it.
Yeah, I haven't been able to find borax here.
You can make moonshine.
Like,
It's
you
great
get,
hand sanitizer.
Like a 10-pound or 5-pound. They were charging like $30.
Yeah, I haven't been able to find
What's up, Super Badass Camera Phone? We can hear ourselves in your background there too.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me see if I can hit the mute on this thing. I thought I hit the wrong button. That's why. There we go. I didn't know that my phone name would come up. And when I bought this phone and took it to Alaska with me, I figured this is a super badass camera. So I'm going to call it Super Badass Camera Phone.
It's Sean from Alaska.
Oh, is that who that is? Okay. I was like, wait a minute.
Sean in Alaska.
Hi, Sean. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Doing good. Just got off of work.
Sean, you're awesome.
I just thought I'd jump in and let you. That's what I do for a living. I work in grocery retail. So
okay.
That's why I said that anything that's still out of stock on your shelf right now is more than likely going to be out of stock for 6 to 9 months going forward, because production is based on normal utilization by consumers. And when they blow the thing like they did the last time, they can't catch up. It's just, it takes months to get back ahead. So stuff like dry yeast at the store level in a regular, like when you buy your rapid rise yeast in your packets and stuff like that. November, December are the months that we sell those, so they gear up for those months, but their production levels are very low going into those months.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah, and the same thing with cleaners. Do we have the capacity to produce them? Yes, but the way that economically everything works is if they don't have to have an extra plant to make something work, they won't build the extra plant. And because it's worked for years, when something like this happens, it just blows everything out of the water.
Now, in Alaska, do you guys have even more issues getting supplies out there than we would over here in the continental?
We do, because all of our, well, I shouldn't say all, 95% of our freight in Alaska for groceries, and that includes dry goods and everything else, comes from the lower 48. It comes from out of Seattle, Washington.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so when we ran out of toilet paper in the state, we were out for a week.
Oh, wow.
Minimum. Yeah, when our warehouse was blown out, and we're lucky as a retailer, the chain that I work for is a retailer up here in Alaska, we actually have a warehouse where our competitors don't have warehouses. So we had it a little longer than everybody else, but once people realized we did have it, we were out.
Now, do you find that people that live in Alaska are more prepper mindset than people down, say, where we're at?
Yes and no. If you're in the cities in Alaska, like I live just outside of a town called 𝙎𝙃𝙄𝙇, and it's still kind of maybe 25% rural and 75% city folk. The 25%, like I'm part of that group, we're like, what? Okay, well, that just means I have to go in the closet and pull out the next package that I have 5 of ready to go because I don't want to go to the store when it's 35 below zero, because
Right.
I don't live in and Anchorage is the same way. But when you get out in the bush communities, they buy their food once a month. So generally speaking, they'll be okay. Generally speaking, they'll be okay for anywhere from 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
And we still, coming originally from California and then moving up here, in California, when the holidays come up, they all grab Marie Callender pies out of the frozen food section. In Alaska, when the holidays come up, they all buy flour and make their own pies.
Right.
So there's certain things like that are up here.
Sorry, Misty, I'm gonna mute you for a second. So, Mickey, welcome to my stream. I see you.
Hey, thanks for having me.
No problem.
Yeah, I'm a new subscriber after seeing you guys on Two Family Homestead today, and as I joined in the live, I saw this actual Zoom link, and I was like, how crazy is this? Who's actually putting their Zoom link out here these days to let us all kind of pop in and join in the fun? So thanks for having me.
No problem. Yeah, I know that there are times where you have to be careful, but I figure 1, if it's bad, I'm going to boot them. 2, I'm probably more of an internet nerd and hacker than anybody that's going to join my little channel here, so I'm not as concerned about it. Great. But so tell me a little bit about your channel since you're new, and I'm assuming from Texas.
Yes, I am from the great state of Texas. I love Texas, and I'm actually not too far away from Misty. I just live up one gigantic highway with many tolls to her place, but still just as hot and humid. And I started my channel really because I have known that since I was a young boy, I wanted to go out and live in the woods with the animals. And I didn't mean that in kind of a prepper, Unabomber kind of way, but it was just more my way of life than living where I do right now in the suburbs of Houston. I've been actually here since '72.
Okay.
And I've had for lack of a better word, I've had a technology-based job in the city with desks and offices and blah, blah, blah. And finally got to the point where I was just fed up and wanted to quit my job and start homesteading. I just felt like, man, I'm just going to take this leap of faith and go for it. And I had already been watching a bunch of homesteading channels for quite some time and decided that this was a great way to connect with people. I've already made so many friends and virtual friends and started really connecting with people. And we learned so much from each other. So, just like you're doing here, right? You put this list together of things that we're suggesting that you get in this time of need. So I really got a lot out of it just from trying to developing a connection with the community. So I've really enjoyed it so far.
Awesome. Well, we're glad to have you in the community. I actually think that a lot of people are kind of seeing what the homestead community is all about now, and people are wanting to jump in. And thank you, Brett, for stopping by. I know you guys have to prep for your live, but I know that when things went a little crazy, it's not just food supplies that went short. Donald could not find baby chicks, hardware cloth, lumber. I think Brett Broussard, was it Brett? Or maybe it was Big Bear said lumber was hard to find. Like people just went like hog wild on homesteading supplies, I think in general. So I'm curious.
I can't find the pressure canner right now.
Yeah, I actually lucked out. Yellow Rose Homestead, when I turned 40 in April and I had like this big online party, they bought me my very first pressure canner for my 40th birthday. So that was really nice of them. But canning jars were hard to find. I think Misty was saying she had a hard time finding them. You're muted, Misty. Hold on one second. Let's see. I had to mute you when you were talking to Keith. So let me see if it'll, you might have to unmute yourself.
Mom, you're on mute.
She's still talking. You're muted, Misty.
Sorry. I had looked back off the other screen. So we went to Kroger's the other day and they wanted like $14 for a deal of jars that would normally be like $7 or $8. I was like, I'm not paying that much because I've already got, I had stockpiled some jars here a while back. I'm not paying that much for jars, for pint jars. I mean, we're not even talking like quarts or, you know.
Yeah. And I think you and Nathan from Samson Farms told me that the Dollar General jars actually work pretty well. So
they do.
I've found some recently, and I'm actually going to go back to Dollar General tomorrow and pick up some more. But I mean, they have them. It's a weird brand. I've never heard of it, but I feel like that would be a good location too.
Yeah. The lids, the dollar store lids work really well too. I'm saying if you find them, buy them because I think they're going to be becoming more and more harder to find.
Yeah. I'm going to bring up my screen again real quick because I had another list I had started. And this was just, I was still working on it when I was getting ready to start the live. I might add to this and then provide this list either on our website or something, but baking powder, like I usually keep baking soda around more than baking powder, but I think both are important. And especially me because I have goats and baking soda is something you have to supplement for the goats. I'm going to have to stockpile on that. Soap, like, you know, not just body soap, but like I'm considering like shampoo and stuff in this category as well. And then laundry detergent. I don't know if anybody had issues finding laundry detergent, but I'm noticing it's starting to go off the shelves too. So I feel like I made my own batch. I think I made like 5 gallons, but I'm noticing the batch I made, it like leaves a white residue on some of my clothes. So I haven't figured out a good recipe for that yet. So I will probably stock up on some generic stuff for now as well.
I had the stuff that I made, that the recipe I had got from Dee from Naturally NC and Robin from Big Bear Homestead use a very similar recipe that I have made too. I did basically use their recipe. Works extremely well. And I had just bought up supplies to make more right before all this hit. So I actually have 2 boxes of the baking or the washing soda and the borax that now you can't find.
Yeah, I do have some washing soda, but yeah, I think borax is, it's important. I mean, it's a cleaning element for almost all types of cleaning supplies. So
yep.
Yeah, I was amazed at how long flour was out.
Yeah.
And then the yeast that I saw was the packaged instant yeast. And I think it was up to somewhere around $6 for the couple of little packages. And I think you used one to make bread. So I was like, well, why would you even buy this yeast if you were going to make bread when you could still at that time buy $1 loaf of bread or $1.50 loaf of bread. So it just didn't make sense. But you never know what you're going to run out of next.
Yeah, and I think that people are, I don't know, like I think they are starting to stockpile again. And I think they are getting more into the handmade stuff. Like I don't bake a lot of bread because Donald and I don't eat a lot of bread. I'm not really good with grains. It doesn't sit well with me. So, I mean, I love bread, but I feel like that's going to be my last resort is if I run out of food. I have a lot of flour that I've been getting. I'm just going to eat a lot of bread and just get fat and happy and sassy, I think. Now, I will show you guys real quick. When I went to Aldi the other day, we go every 2 weeks to go shopping. And they did have pretty much everything we needed. And they had this. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's like how many ounces is this? 4-ounce bottle of hand sanitizer. $8 for this. That's a bit crazy.
I don't see how
$8.
you can't call that
Gouging.
price gouging. Yeah, the price gouging sounds too. It doesn't sound strong enough. I think there's another word for it when you're doing that illegally, raising the prices, or maybe another term for it. But anyway, I don't know how you can't call that price gouging.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. But and we tried to get, like, normally I'll get one 12-pack of toilet paper, and I went ahead and tried to get 2 packs this time. I didn't want to like overdo it and get like 5, 10 packs or whatever, but they're limiting it to 1, so I got 1. They wouldn't let me get more than 1 hand sanitizer bottle, which I wouldn't buy a second one anyway because it's so freaking expensive. What else did we try to get that they limited me on? I'm trying to remember.
I don't think I've ever used hand sanitizer in my life.
Yeah, and I keep it at the office. Or I keep it in my purse, but I take it with me to the office because there's a waiting room right outside my door for another company, and there's a lot of kids that run around, and kids aren't really the cleanest when it comes to germ sharing. So when I go out, if I have to touch anything out there, I'll use it on my hands.
So I've got like 6 sleeves, and then I've got like, okay, thank you. I've got 2 of these, 3 of these big bricks of yeast. I'm not gonna.
That's the way to get it.
Is it solid? Like, is that like?
Yeah, it's a solid brick.
Now, how would you measure something like that out?
Let's say this is like the regular
That's what I was talking about.
instant yeast, and it gives you the measurements. Once you open it, you would have to freeze it, but yeah, it gives you. It's a 1 pound brick.
You can actually leave that out of the freezer for probably a couple of weeks. That is a commercial version that we used to use when I grew up in my dad's bakery. And it's the same thing that's in those packets. It just feels like a brick because it's vacuum sealed right now so that the yeast won't go bad. Yeah. But it's the awesome way to buy it because I don't know what you paid for that, but I could buy that up here for about $6. Yeah.
That's about what I probably paid. When I got this, I probably paid $3 or $4. You can't even find this now.
Rustic Traditions asking where you got it.
Yeah, so that's when you go to
I got
some
it
of your
at
local
H-E-B.
restaurants. Yep. If you go to local restaurants or bakeries or people that you normally shop with on a regular basis and ask them to order you 3 or 4 of them, they can order it from their food suppliers, Cisco's, Hoskins, those kind of people.
I don't think I've ever seen a brick of yeast, but now, because we have to go to Giant tomorrow, that's the main one we have around here. We have to go to another town to go to Aldi, but I'll go tomorrow and see if I can find one. I have never heard of a brick of yeast before. That's interesting. And I think one of the things I did want to talk about is right now it's kind of, because it's the after effects of the initial panic, it's hard to stockpile on items. And of course, now they're doing the limitations anyway. But I really want to emphasize what Donald and I are doing right now is every time we go grocery shopping, even if I don't need it, I'm just picking up all the basics: toilet paper, yeast, flour. I mean, I've probably got like 10 pounds of flour, not 10 pounds, probably more like 30 pounds of flour. I don't need that much flour, but if I pick up 1 5-pound bag every trip, I'm gradually going to, have a small stockpile. I think that's the only way you can do it right now because of the limitations.
Yep.
I think foil is another one I would probably stockpile on, but I already have tons of it just from camping, so I'm not too worried about the foil.
Well, and that's it. If you get a little bit every time you go in, just grab a little bit of something, and then it doesn't look like you're stockpiling, just get where you have the money too, just that's what we do. We're on a fixed income. So every time you go into the store, when you have the money, just grab a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And then we're limited on space. We live in a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment. So
Yeah.
just get what you can get, and that way you have it.
Yeah. And thank you, Sean, for stopping in. I saw that you had to run. And yeah, I think a limited income is another issue that people are going to face. That's why we like to shop at Aldi. You can get a lot of cool stuff for cheap at Aldi. And if you go in and get a pack of 12 rolls of toilet paper for $6 every time you shop, and obviously prioritize what you felt was the biggest stressed item when all this went down, and then go down that list. I think if you ran out of toilet paper and that's one of your biggest concerns, I would start there. If you have a limited income, if you don't have a limited income, I would buy one item of everything from that list that I showed earlier, and I'll bring it up again since we do have some new people in. One item from this list every time you go shopping, just except the hand sanitizer. That one is ridiculously expensive right now.
My view on the hand sanitizer, I use it, they have it at the grocery stores. As you walk in, I kind of stick my hand under there at the store, and I stick my hand under it as I walk out. Other than that, I wash my hands when I'm at home.
Yeah.
I use soap and water. I'm not going to pay $12, whatever they're charging for it at the stores. I'm just not all that worried about it. I'll use good old-fashioned soap and water.
Yeah. And one of the things I read about it, and I'm not sure if it's true. I think it's true, but only for a limited time. The 2 items that a human body could live off of in a pandemic and have all their basic nutritional needs met is potatoes and butter, which is great because I love potatoes and I love butter.
Right.
And I love them together. But for I think a small amount of time, if that's all you can buy, like I still have tons of butter. I stock up, and actually I probably should add it to that list. Stocking up on butter and potatoes,
Hey,
I think is a good
Stacy.
idea. Is Stacy in here? Yeah.
Yes, she is.
Stacy at Yellow Rose Homestead, who I mentioned earlier, just found out that her and her new husband, by the way, are going to be grandparents again to twins, which I think is exciting.
Speaking of Aldi, has anyone seen these frugal channels? I don't know what else to call it, but these channels where people go dumpster diving. I'm used to going dumpster diving from kind of a more computer hacker perspective, where you would go and find things that other people might have thrown in the garbage. But these people are going to like an Aldi and a Target and a Walmart and grabbing all the things that they've thrown out, and they find hand sanitizer that has like a broken cap on it, or bottles of detergent and all kinds of things that really don't go bad, and they'll find half a case because it's in the dented section or whatever. Anybody seen that?
I have not seen that, but it sounds like I've always wondered whether I would get in trouble doing that kind of stuff. Like, are you talking about going to a grocery store dumpster area, or?
Yeah, like I see a lot of videos with them in an Aldi's, Walmart, Target especially, and they're saying so right on their videos. I mean, it's clear what they're doing, and they're filming themselves in the dumpster and what they're collecting. So I would agree. I would think it would be something that you might get busted for, but
no, there's a whole community that does it. And true story, before my little grandfather passed away, he, in the small community that I am from, the town next to it, my little grandfather, the grocery store there used to leave stuff for my grandfather that he would go pick up. I mean, he would pick up, not expired food, but they have to take stuff off the shelf at a certain time. He used to go pick up Little Debbie snack cakes and go pass them out to people because they really didn't have food pantries to go at that point to go donate it to. So the little grocer, wasn't like a Walmart. This was like a family grocery store. He would just leave them out there for my granddad to go pick it up. And he would go pick it up and hand it out to the neighborhood. We would say like, Granddad, please, we don't need any more Little Debbie's snack cakes. I mean, just tons and tons and tons of food. And there is a whole community that I say community like homesteading community, but I'm saying a whole niche of people that yes, it's a real thing that they will go and get this discarded stuff, and groceries they'll package it so that we're in bags and stuff where they can go pick it up and get it because there's nothing wrong with it. They just can't sell it anymore. Yes, it's a real thing.
Now, Kathy from North Star Prep Center had a really good idea, and I don't know why I didn't think to add this because we did this the last trip we went to the store, is adding oils like avocado oil, olive oil, and pain medication to your regular shopping trip. And we did that this last trip. We got an extra thing of olive oil, an extra thing of avocado oil, because that's what I cook with. I don't really cook with olive oil because it goes rancid and it's bad for you. And then pain medication, even if it's generic, like Tylenol. I wouldn't have lived through April without Tylenol with that tooth pain I had. But yeah, I think these are good things that we need to keep in mind too. I didn't even think about it. Someone was asking what you could use besides butter. I forget what were they saying it was for?
Benadryl is another good one. If you have some kind of allergic reaction to something.
Yeah, allergy medicine. And Donald has bad allergies. He's over them right now, but I could see that being a thing. Yeah, those are good ideas. So, and I added beans because J-Love, hi J-Love, was talking about rice and beans and rice. And I know we had rice on the list of stuff that was already short last session of our little panic.
Speaking of, I need to can some more beans.
Yeah, I need to. I don't eat a lot of beans, but I would eat garbanzo beans. I love those. Little Garden Big Dream says a lot of the dumpsters are locked now. Once they used to leave them open so people could take goods, but some places pour bleach over the lot. Really? Have you experienced that, Mickey? Oh, you're muted. You might have to unmute yourself. Let me see if I can unmute you real quick. Hold on.
And that's really sad that they do that they pour bleach
there we go.
Over it. If it's going to the landfill, why not let people get use out of it?
Yeah. J-Love says she's been stockpiling ibuprofen and oils for months. Yay.
Yeah, I haven't really gone out and done any dumpster diving. Like I said, I knew it from a hacker perspective, going out and looking for like documents with passwords and things in it, documentation, but not from like these people on these channels. I mean, they are literally going grocery shopping, and they are putting on their channel like the homesteading community puts what their harvest is as they go out in their gardens. These people are putting, hey, look at all the heads of lettuce that I got and stuff, and they're taking them home and eating them. So this one I saw recently, you know how on YouTube, once you watch one, they start to pop up for you, right? And then you get to clicking on them. This one that's pretty popular, they had broken eggs. They were all in the original egg containers, but it was a case of eggs. And so all they did was sit there. They actually had a Lexus, a white Lexus. They backed their Lexus up to the dumpster, and they started going through all the containers and throwing out all the cracked eggs and keeping all the eggs that weren't broken and just refilling the containers, and took them home. And they had, I mean, I don't remember exactly how many dozen it was, but it was a lot of eggs. I'm assuming if it's locked, they're just not going to film it. So I couldn't tell you how many were locked, but I totally agree. I mean, you're really kind of skirting, you're fringing legal aspects here if you go and start rummaging through people's dumpsters, because that's been a thing for so many years, right? I mean,
yeah,
Kevin Mitnick did it with the phone companies back in the late 70s, early 80s. So that's, it's a known thing.
Have you ever seen his business card?
Oh gosh, yes, I go to DEF CON and all that stuff for
It's
many
really
years.
neat.
So that and Steve Wozniak's got a really cool card too. You could cut tomatoes. You ever seen that commercial where they show you the ginsu knives and you can cut tomatoes with all kinds of crazy stuff? Steve
Yeah.
Wozniak's card, you could definitely cut tomatoes with. It's so sharp on the edges. It's funny.
Oh wow.
I digress though. We're way off topic now.
J-Love says she's been stocking up on hamburger from Aldi's, $2.40 a pound for the frozen tubes and canning. And that's a good idea because I know Misty put out a canning video for ground beef recently that I want to
Ground
try.
sausage and ground chicken.
Yeah, so that might be a good thing. But are you guys experiencing a meat shortage? Because I know that there were issues with plant workers and stuff, and I know that a friend of mine who owns a cattle ranch here in Gettysburg, she said that it's not that they can't sell, like they don't have the meat to sell. They don't have the plant to process it. The plant's so backed up right now.
VW Family Farm is fixing to start processing their own meat and selling it.
Like cow meat or something else?
Yeah, beef.
Oh, wow.
Beef and pork.
I would love to be able to learn how to do that. I have never processed a cow.
Isn't it crazy how many people we're seeing right now, meat producers of all types, but mainly I'm thinking pigs that I've been seeing on the news that are, they're on the news talking about how they're euthanizing their pigs because the processing plants are backed up or, can't take it. I was really thinking, why is it that we can't find a way to get this produce and meat and stuff to people? Why is it that you're pouring out gallons upon gallons of milk, when people need it? There's got to be some way as a community we can try to strive to help these farmers who aren't willing or don't have the logistics, part of this down. There's got to be some people out there that just have logistic skills and a truck and can take it. Or maybe that's something that we could do to get free pork, is hook up with these meat producers who are sad about killing their pigs because they don't have a processing plant to go to, and you got some free hams or something. I don't know.
And I think there have been some that are creative and have been selling direct to the consumer. Like I saw one article where there were people probably lined up for a mile to come and buy milk from this farmer, and they just paid him directly. And honestly, I feel like there should be more of that anyway. Cut out that middleman.
Well, yeah, but some places, that is it in Kentucky? I don't even know what the laws in Texas are, but I know I've heard the Stivers talk about, like in Kentucky, they can't sell their goat milk for human consumption. They can sell it to feed people.
Pet consumption, yeah.
Wink, wink. But stupid crap like that. So, I don't even know what the laws in Texas are as far as selling stuff like that, because everything is so highly government regulated, and a lot of it, that's what that comes down to, is government regulation. But I know, like, there are a lot of people right now struggling to put food on their tables. Mm-hmm. The NRG, which is where the Houston Texans play football, it's like every week they're having massive food giveaways. That they're just have people lined up for miles giving away tons of food. And how long can they keep doing that if there's food shortages?
Mm-hmm. And that could also kind of be revealing a problem that we have with, like, I'm a big fan of raw milk. Pennsylvania, it's legal to buy, it's legal to consume, it's legal to sell. I love raw milk. It's my favorite type of milk. The problem is that, there's so many regulations, and it makes sense. There's an organization called Raw Milk Institute, and it talks about the history of raw milk and why there were so many regulations because of how poorly milk was handled in the early 1900s. But I'm not even trying to know where I was going with this. I feel like we have this ability now to stop over-regulating certain things. Like, obviously we want to be safe, but there's so much over-regulation on this side and so little regulation on things like poisoning water with nitrates and stuff, because we've got these cattle lots and these feedlots. And I feel like we're in a position right now to maybe move that around a little bit and put more emphasis on supporting the smaller farms and less on these big honking poisonous nitrate farms but that's, that's an opinion of mine. I don't know that that's necessarily what other people think.
I totally agree with you. I think it probably has a lot to do with lobbying, though.
Yeah.
That, as you mentioned, the big in the word there means that they're spending money on lobbyists to get their way out of the regulations, while we're just here talking about it on YouTube and can't afford to get there, right? But I do think, like you were saying with raw milk, you like it, and so you find a way to get it. And they have the same here, even though I don't think it is legal for people to go to a local dairy farm and buy from them direct. I'm not positive about
I
that.
don't think so
But
in
if I
Texas.
recall, yeah,
I think you may be right, Mickey. That's why I said that. I think you may be right.
Yeah, but I bet that a lot of people still do it. I guarantee
You may be right there too.
Going up and saying, hey, can I just take a look at your cows? Hey, give me some milk.
Yeah, or I mean,
or it may be like Kentucky. I'm buying it for my animals.
Yeah, you can buy it for pet consumption and they can't do much about it. And it's the same for selling meat. Like Donald and I, we butcher for ourselves here, but we have had people that want to come by and buy meat, but I am not set up to sell meat. But you know, you can sell meat as a pet consumption raw food diet for your animal or whatever if you have to. But milk, yeah, I don't think that's legal in Texas. I think Donald and I, as a backup, if we had to move to Texas where his family is in Texarkana, then what are our limitations that we're used to here in Pennsylvania? And that would be, I think that was one of them. Wide Family Farm says that something happened with Homesteaders cows. Says their cows tested for disease and they just bought her and now have to kill whoever she came in contact with, and they can't use the land she's been on, I assume.
Oh,
Holy.
wow.
I haven't seen that video, but I saw I saw they had a video where they were talking about that particular situation that they're in and whether they should be suing the person they bought the cow from. I didn't know about not being able to use the land that the cow's been in contact with, but you know, hoof and mouth disease and other things, that stays, right? So you've got to deal with a lot more than just taking care of one animal when you have some of those diseases.
And that scares me because Donald and I are interested in getting into cattle next year, possibly. She says it was 𝙎𝙃𝙄𝙇 disease or something, and I've never heard of it, but I don't know a lot about cattle right now, so that's scary. Like you can't even use the land. Now, reading up, like I would have to read up on this, but I know that a lot of people will take like sheep and go behind cows because they don't share the same parasites, and then the sheep can clean up certain things that the cows can't, and then you bring in chickens. Like there's a whole process there. I wonder if that passes to sheep or chickens that you can use that land for.
That's a really interesting topic to discuss. You know, I'm a huge fan of history and love old westerns, obviously, Gunsmoke and Rifle.
Yes,
and
Cheyenne Bodie.
All those old westerns, it was always a battle between the sheep farmers and the cattle farmers because of that very fact that they just don't, or at that time really didn't do well together. And the grazing as well, you know, goats being browsers and sheep's overgrazing and stuff in areas would hurt cattle grazing. But I mean, it was mainly the diseases and things that would pass back and forth. So we're really lucky that dogs and cats don't share so much between us, because we'd all be in a heck of a problem here.
Right. Yeah, and I think a lot of the issue in westerns, or at least in the Old West as well, was the ranchers were about free grazing and open prairie, and you can't do that with sheep. You have to have them contained. So barbed wire came into the picture, and that was a huge battle with ranchers and you know, people that had to drive cattle from Texas to Wyoming. They can't go through all this barbed wire and stuff. Oh, wow. She says, following up on the homestead issue, she says it passes through the mill, and their son, who was a newborn, has been having a ton of issues, and they think that's why they got the camels for camel milk or something. Wait a minute. Does Homestead have camels? Did I miss that?
Yeah, the first video that I saw was about how they were going to have to sell their camel. But I thought that they said, and I didn't watch the video itself, I just remember seeing the thumbnail and the description, and I thought it was about their son being scared to death of the camel, so they were going to sell it. But maybe it's something about the milk and the camel being sick or something. Ruster Traditions Homestead here says something about it. Maybe somebody else in the chat knows a little more detail about Was it the camels being sick? Was it the son who was scared of the camels? Or
It looks like they got the camel because the son was
Okay.
getting sick from other milk, I assume. So that's cool. I've never heard of camel milk as a replacement. I've heard of goat milk if you can't have cow milk as a replacement, but that I didn't even know you could get camels in the United States. How sad is that? I did not know that. That's interesting though. I find that interesting. So we're down to our last 8 minutes or so, and I apologize I'm not playing any music this time. Usually I play a song or two on my guitar, but I did want to touch on this as an educational opportunity simply because, and I'll post the link or share the screen again that showed the list that we kind of compiled together, not only as a group, but through my Facebook. These are some of the items that people were short on over the last couple of months. So if you are out shopping, it's suggested. Nobody can go out and just buy a whole bunch of stuff right now, but every shopping trip, if you buy one more item, like when we go shopping next week, I'm going to buy an extra thing of toilet paper, probably an extra 5-pound bag of flour, extra yeast. I don't need any of these supplies, and I'm not overbuying like we had the panic buying of toilet paper in March. I'm just buying a little bit every time I go shopping for the next couple of weeks because that's an easy way, an affordable way, and a considerate way to stock up on what you can without affecting other people, affecting your wallet. And then we added a couple additional items thanks to Kathy, who is, of course, North Star Prepsteaders, a big prepper name that we all hang out with, but adding oils, pain medication. I'm trying to think of what else. The only thing I'm not too sure about is like Dad and I are on blood thinning medication. I don't think I can stockpile that. Maybe teas, if you're into like some kind of natural remedies that you can get through teas, whether it's like sleeping or coffee. I mean, coffee is important to some people, but and then Kathy also mentioned winter supplies. Like if you can find some of the winter supplies that when it gets time for you to buy them in like September or October, they may not be available. If you can get them now, like some boots, clothes, shovels and things, might be a good time to get them now. And I guess I should add on here, because Donald and I had issues finding, let me go ahead and make another section over here, like wood, lumber, hardware cloth. I don't know whether nails, building supplies maybe, might be in shortage. It can't hurt to get an extra box of nails or two over the next couple weeks.
I know they will be for the Z's there and myself. We're into a big hurricane season, and I hear all the predictions are that we're going to have a worse time with hurricanes this year in Southeast Texas. So I don't think nails and lumber are a bad thing to add to the list. I don't know about Misty, you and your husband ever going out and buying sheets of plywood real quick when you hear about the storms coming in?
I think, well, she's muted, but they live in an apartment. I don't think that they have the ability to do that in the apartment.
Yeah, we live in an apartment. So, and honestly, the way our apartment is set up, we were here during Harvey, and there is a garage right in front of us. So we face the south, but there's a big tree embankment. But then there is also like a garage right in front of all of our windows. So we're on ground level, and so we're really quite protected where we're at. We sat here during Harvey and had zero problems. We didn't have any flooding issues. We're in a high level here in Conroe. We didn't flood at all. It just rained like a crazy during Harvey. So, and if it ever got bad enough, we'd shoot north, but we didn't have. Now we had a lot of friends that flooded during Harvey, but it wasn't too bad. So
that's great.
Yeah, food,
Thomas
all that
Schmidt
stuff was
Homestead.
crazy, but
Thomas Schmidt Homestead Projects also mentioned lard. You might want to add that to your
Lard.
I think that was a good alternative.
Yeah, and if you can't make your own, if you can find, like we have a local Mennonite farm that we get our raw milk farm, they just sell like back fat and stuff, and we just make that into lard. but that's definitely a good one. And honestly, when I was making the shelf-stable Bisquick for Dad, the ingredient that you use is Crisco to make it shelf-stable rather than butter. And I actually had a hard time finding Crisco for some reason. I didn't think people still cooked with it, but I guess they do. I don't know. I've actually never cooked with Crisco, so I don't know.
All my family growing up used Crisco. I don't personally use it, but I don't usually cook a lot of things that need Crisco, and I save all my bacon grease if I have to have something like it in a pinch. But I noticed that here in Texas, HEB is a big grocery store chain in the Texas area that I doubt other people have in their states. I think it's pretty local to Texas.
Yeah, it's a Texas thing.
And HEB, while it's great, and I'm not seeing a shortage of most of the things on this list here, except for the soap and the hand sanitizers. The only thing on your list here that I can't just run out and buy.
It was today.
Yeah.
You should have seen it today.
The Crisco is one thing that I do
it
not
was bad.
buy. They put it really low at the bottom of the whole rack. It's on the bottom shelf, and it's only one little section. So I think that's another great call out for people who use Crisco. It's pretty limited, even in the big city.
Crisco. And then, I mean, I can't really ignore the fact that we had wars in like the history of the planet over spices. So I'm thinking I didn't have a good onion harvest this year, and I use onion powder a lot in my cooking, and Old Bay, because obviously I'm from Maryland, so we have it injected in our veins constantly. But I'm thinking certain spices that you aren't able to grow, like this year I didn't have a good onion harvest. I have certain things I will have good harvest of, like oregano, basil, rosemary, but maybe spices that are dried that you can stock up on a little bit of each time, I think would be a good idea too. Wide said something about getting prescriptions months in advance. I don't know that my insurance would allow it. If you can, yeah, I think that would be great. But for me, I've actually been studying up on natural blood thinners, and things like cayenne pepper and certain foods I think would be good. Cayenne pepper, surprisingly, is a massive herb for health. So I think I might stock up on some cayenne powder. I'm actually going to put that in here because I think that's one, if you had to get one spice for health, I think this would be the one to get, to be quite honest.
Interesting. I'll have to try that.
Well, and the neat thing about cayenne pepper that I read up on, and I'm going to be wrapping things up here in a little bit, is Rosemary Gladstar, who's like the grandmother of herbal medicine. She says, and some other one also said the same thing, that cayenne pepper, it is not only is it an anticoagulant, but it's a coagulant at the same time. From what I understand, it knows the level of coagulation that you need, and it adjusts that accordingly. Now, I'm a little wary about experimenting on myself, obviously, so I want to read more up on that, but I find it interesting that cayenne has that ability. And then, of course, it's determining, well, how much would I need in order to supplement my own blood thinners? I don't know, but it's stuff I got to research. If I can't get blood thinner medication and I need it, what can I do to supplement?
I like turmeric. Somebody said turmeric. I really like it. It's really good for arthritis.
Yeah, I like turmeric too. And it's good for preventing Alzheimer's too, which is why I like keeping it in the house for Dad. But I did want to mention that Yellow Rose Homestead, Stacy was in the chat here. I don't know if she's still in here or not, but she is having major back surgery coming up here soon. So she is going to be my channel shout out for tonight. I always try to shout out one channel each evening. And obviously Yellow Rose Homestead, they just got married. They did it live on YouTube. They gifted me with a pressure canner for my birthday. She's going through major surgery. They just got news that they're going to have twins, grandchildren coming up. So there's a lot of stuff going on over there. Some exciting, some, a little wary with the back surgery, but obviously I want to give them a shout out because they're just awesome people. If you don't know them, then you are welcome, because now I've introduced you to these awesome people, and everybody
absolutely go check them out.
Awesome.
Right after this.
Yeah, I'm probably going to end things now. And then usually what we do is we hop over to the 𝙒𝘼𝙔𝙎s because their live is going on now. We do what's called a copper kettle raid. So if you know 𝙒𝘼𝙔𝙎s Homestead, that's where I'm going to be hanging out here in a few minutes. And really appreciate you guys coming up here. I wasn't sure whether I'd have anybody come up to talk about things and whether we'd even have enough to talk about, but you guys have given a lot of really good information. So I appreciate both Mickey and Misty for coming up, my Texas friends. So
Thanks for having me. This is my first time to do something like this. Of course, I've talked on Zoom like a gazillion times, but
yeah,
actually being on somebody's live stream is great here. And I see Mama Z's channel all the time.
yeah.
So it's great to actually talk to her as Misty and say,
Yeah.
hey. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Hope everybody has a blessed weekend. Happy 4th.
Happy 4th. Take care, you guys. See ya.
Bye, guys.